Hello everybody, welcome back to Art Appreciation. In case you did not read your directions, you only have to watch 3 of these videos. You don't have to watch all 5. If you do watch all 5, you are going to get 5 bonus points for each additional video. So if you only watch 4, you'll get plus 5 points. If you watch 5, you'll get plus 10 points on top of your grade. Watch and take notes. So this video is going to be printmaking. So prints are made by an artist or under their supervision. Some artists just create the plate and then someone else actually prints it. Some artists do both parts. Prints are usually made in editions, meaning that the artist will have a set number that will be created, and after that, the number or the plate will be destroyed. So it's a limited run. You may decide to only do 100 prints. Once 100 prints are made, the plate's either recycled or destroyed, and no more prints will be made. Even then, sometimes plates deteriorate when you print them so many times. So sometimes artists will print until the plate deteriorates and then you get no more prints. So we're going to talk about different types of prints. There's several different types. So first we're going to talk about relief printing. Relief prints are any prints made from the raised portions of a plate. So this plate can be wood, metal, linoleum, stone, etc. Ink is spread onto the plate and then the image is stamped onto the paper. So the raised portions are where your design comes from. There are different types of relief prints. So first we have woodcut. So this is an example of woodcut. This is Hans Boldung's The Witches. It was made in 1510 and it's woodcut on paper. So this print's an example of German chiaroscuro and is one of Baldung's best known works. Baldung worked alongside Dürer, who we'll talk about in a little bit, but is credited as one of the first to work in a woodcut chiaroscuro style. This scene depicts 3 witches around a cauldron spelling themselves to fly. The interest in witchcraft in the German-speaking countries was especially strong at the beginning of the 16th century, heralded by the publication in 1487 of the Malleus Maleficarum, or The Witch's Hammer, by Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Springer, which was reprinted 14 times before 1520. So it was very, very popular. Woodcuts are made using relatively soft wood. The image is carved into the wood, and the positive spaces are left raised and the negative spaces are carved away. So the black lines are the raised spaces. Anything that's paper white is what's carved away. Woodcuts are used for some of the very first prints, but they're not the most effective printing process. Because of the softness of the wood, the plate or woodblock deteriorates over time. Basically, the pressure of the printmaking process beats down the raised areas of the wood until the image no longer remains. Next, we have wood engraving. So this is Edward Calvert's The Brook, created in 1829. So wood engraving was quickly adapted to solve the issue of woodblock deterioration. And I know that these are from very different periods of time. They're just an example. Wood engraving has been happening for a while. With wood engraving, the image is carved into the end grain of a denser wood. So the plate will still deteriorate over time, but the woodblock lasts a lot longer when printing. So it's harder wood. You're carving into the hardest part, the end grain. So this print shows classical inspired figures. The print was originally meant to have a Christian meaning, but the caption was later removed by the artist. The caption read, quote, "The waters of this brook shall never fail to the married wife of the Lord God," end quote. Next we have linocut. So linocuts use the same process of carving away as the other techniques. Difference is that the artists use a linoleum plate instead of a wood block. The linoleum is soft enough to carve away easily, but is durable enough to not deteriorate under the pressure of printing. So this is Elizabeth Catlett's Sharecropper, created in 1952. Catlett once said that the purpose of her work was to, quote, present black people in their beauty and dignity for ourselves and others to understand and enjoy, end quote. Sharecropper calls attention to the tribulations of tenant farming, a system in which rent for the land is paid by the farmer with a part of the crop, so creating an impossible to escape cycle of debt, while also offering a heroic portrait of an anonymous woman. So those were relief prints. Now we're moving on to intaglio printing. So intaglio prints, the ink is placed in the dug out or recessed area of the printing plate. So we cut grooves, we roll ink on, it goes into the grooves, and that's what's printed. So same with relief printing, there's several different types of intaglio printing. First, we're going to talk about engraving. Engraving is an intaglio printmaking process in which the grooves are cut into a metal or wood surface with a sharp cutting tool called a burin or graver. So this is Martin Schongauer's Christ Carrying the Cross. It was created in 1475, and it's engraving. This is known as Schongauer's largest print. And as the title suggests, it depicts Christ carrying his cross to Golgotha. So this is the Christian Christ. The artist created a variety of tones by controlling the density of hatching in this work. So if you didn't watch the drawing video, hatching is these little lines. So the closer together the lines are, the denser, the darker it is. The further apart the lines are, the lighter it is. So we see hatching a lot in printmaking. With engraving, only thin lines can be carved, and they're all black, regardless of the depth of the carve. So in order to create gradations of black and white, artists must use hatching. Next, we have dry point. Dry point is an intaglio printmaking process in which lines are scratched directly into a metal plate with a steel needle. The scratch raises a ridge or burr that takes the ink. So this is Edward Thomas Daniels, Surlingham Ferry, looking towards Norwich. It's created sometime around 1842. So this work of art shows the characteristic rough technique that dry point has. Often dry point is combined with other forms of intaglio printing. So in this case, it's etching. So we have both dry point and etching. Dry point is usually used to fix like little details, to add little bits. So this is etching. This is our example for etching. Again, etching is intaglio. So for etching, a metal plate is first coated with acid-resistant wax or varnish. Then that is scratched to expose the metal, and then it's dipped in nitric acid where the lines are desired. So put a varnish on, carve into it. Where it's carved, when you dip it in the acid, it eats away at the metal. So that's what creates your lines. So this image was created by Rembrandt van Rijn. It's called Self-Portrait Etching at a Window. It was made in 1648. So Rembrandt depicts himself realistically instead of idealistically, which is sort of a shift at that period of time. This print's also an example of using multiple printing processes in one image. So we do have etching and dry point. So he did go back in and carve some things for dry point after it was etched. Next we have aquatint. Aquatint is an intaglio printmaking process in which value areas instead of lines are etched onto the printing plate. So it's the same process as etching, except you're going to get a big block of color instead. So powdered resin is put onto the plate, and so when it's dipped in the acid bath, um, the areas around the resin particles create a rough surface that holds the ink. So that's how we're able to get large swatches of color instead of just lines. So that roughness in those dips causes the ink to stick. So this is Mary Cassatt's The Bath, created in 1890. This print was created using two plates. One plate held the lines and one plate held the color. The lines in this case were created using dry point, and then the color was added with aqua tint. So another printing process is lithography. So lithography is neither relief nor intaglio. It's its own thing. Lithography is a printmaking technique based on the antipathy of oil and water. So in case you didn't know, oil and water don't mix. The image is drawn onto the plate with a grease crayon or painted with a substance called touche on a stone or grained aluminum plate. The surface is then chemically treated and dampened so that it will accept ink only where the crayon or touche had been used. So where the greasy substance was used is where the ink will lay. So this print is by Daumier. It's Gargantua. It's created in 1831. Daumier was known for his caricatures, especially political cartoons, published independently and in newspapers. So Gargantua was meant to make fun of the rulers of the day, taking more than they need from the common people. It was meant as a political cartoon against the ruling class. So the wealthy take and get fatter, become Gargantua, and the people suffer. If you look, all the political leaders are meant to be large. Is it another by Daumier? This is Rue Transenane, and it was created in 1834. This is the example in your textbook, and it depicts a man that was in an apartment building where everyone was unjustly murdered because one person might have been part of a rebellion against the French rulers. This was published in the newspapers the morning after the event. So, again, political purposes. Lithography is a very quick method. Basically, you're creating a drawing. So as quickly as you can draw, you can create the lithograph. So you can draw directly onto the plate, treat the plate quickly. It's very fast. So this happened at night. It was in the paper the next morning. He worked overnight and got it done. You would not be able to do that with something like etching or woodcut. Another example of lithography. This is Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec's Moulin Rouge. It was created in 1891. Toulouse-Lautrec was known for his posters. So this print was made using 4 colors, all printed using different blocks. This poster would have hung outside the dance hall in which it was created for to draw people in. So we have a yellow block, red block, black block, gray block. And we lay them all up, line them all up, and this is the print we get. Next we have screen printing. So screen printing is a technique in which stencils or light-sensitive resist are applied to a fabric stretched across a frame, and paint or ink is forced through the unblocked portions of the screen onto the paper or another surface beneath. So screen printing today is often used for t-shirts. We get a lot of the t-shirts you buy are probably screen printed. So we take it's almost a paint. It's very thick. It's considered ink, but it's very thick. And it's specifically made for fabric. It's usually done with a silk screen. And it's pushed through that screen to create the image. It doesn't have to be done for shirts, though, and you don't have to use that kind of paint. You can use ink. So this is Andy Warhol's Untitled from Marilyn Monroe. He has a series of Marilyn Monroe portraits that are all screen printed. They're from 1967. Andy Warhol often uses silk screen. So usually you have different screens that all line up. Each screen is a different color. So he would have had a pink screen, a yellow one, a black one, and then the skin color one, and then the purple. So you lay the screen over your paper, your t-shirt, whatever you're printing on. Whatever's covered up remains white. Whatever is not where ink goes. Whatever is exposed is where ink goes. And it sort of uses a squeegee to press it through. So that is it for printmaking. Your textbook goes over typography and logos as part of this. We're not going to talk about that in the lecture. If you're interested in it, you can go read about it in the textbook. Basically, typography is the designing of letters. Logos are little images to talk about, usually brands. You can create a personal logo for yourself. Most often it's used for brands and it's for recognition. But if you're interested more in how that's designed and things about it, you can go check it out in the textbook.